Last but not least, for my final video, I'll be doing Pale Horse, Pale Rider. This is Pale Horse, Pale Rider by Katherine Anne Porter. In this first picture, this is Miranda. She is looking out to this figure that is symbolic to death, which is the Pale Horse, Pale Rider. Just a short summary. This story is placed in Denver during World War I and during an influenza epidemic. It is centered around Miranda and Adam. Miranda is a journalist and Adam is a soldier. Miranda lives a rather relentless life as a journalist and tries not to get too close to Adam, who is soon to go off to war. Two important fears that she has is the influenza, which she does contract, and Adam dying when he leaves. On her journey to recovery, she wishes that she had not been saved and could return to the beautiful pasture. She is later informed that Adam caught influenza and died in an army hospital. Miranda faces life without Adam, trying to be happy that she's alive, but thinks of him often and how he was the most alive thing that she knew. She finds herself fighting through wartime and continues to long for the beautiful pasture of her delirium that she had found when she had been so sick. This to the right, this picture of this woman just kind of represents Miranda. She likes to sleep a lot. She is her character is depressed, so she likes to sleep. This is just kind of a picture of all the deaths from the influenza. These ladies represent her work as a journalist, and this is a picture of World War I. Alright, these are my thoughts on the story, my likes and dislikes. I feel like the story was very relatable to 2020 and all the emotions that were felt in it, with the influenza and COVID-19 and all the deaths and losses, and the people that were left behind to mourn them. And this author wasn't afraid to tell the world how she really felt. What I mean by this, I feel like the story relates to the author's own life. It's very authentic. All the feelings that were wrapped up in the story. She was Miranda, the character Miranda. She was very depressed. She was sad. She met Adam, fell in love. Was very anxious because he had to go off to war. Gets sick. Mourns his death. Just this story was had lots of emotions just all rolled up into one, and I really liked it. The dislikes makes me feel like I feel sorry for the character Miranda. She when she feels hopeless and depressed, back then mental health wasn't commonly treated or discussed like it is in 2020. So expressing her feelings to someone during this time had to have been hard because she was lonely, and it is hard for someone to reach out and tell someone that there's something wrong with them. So it's not that I disliked it; it just made me feel sorry because this story is it is about a wartime story. It is depressing. So it just makes me feel sorry for the character. All right, this is my stance. I believe that the author wrote Pale Horse, Pale Rider because she wanted her audience to experience the many different emotions that arise from living in a time of war. The story allowed me to become engrossed in all the emotions of that era and to feel the weight on the shoulders of all the characters. Since it relates to the author's own life, Miranda's love story is well told and undoubtedly a serious story about wartime love. It's about the anxieties of the time, a pandemic, death, work, and war. All these emotions are experienced as Miranda's story unfolds. As a reader, I wondered why Miranda's story was such a sad one. Adam had asked her at one point if she was ever happy, leading me to ponder on the dream of the horses and her family, which were from much happier times. I was able to witness a time when, in fact, she was happy. This was seen through the fever and the delirium from the influenza. Miranda predicts a dire future for herself and her love with Adam, but she does fight back, rejecting the pale horse and the pale rider, and rejecting death. This time, it is apparent she is experiencing a depression, yet she fights for the security she has found in Adam. Adam has given her security in wartime, during the epidemic, and working in a job that she does dislike. When Adam's own death leaves her alone again, it exemplifies so many wartime love stories, and it is the outcome of the lives of so many. Adam's death was not the worst outcome for Miranda. What was actually so tragic was the fact that Miranda fought and recovered, leaving her to mourn all the deaths from her family and Adam because of the influenza. Their story speaks a common theme of that time. Their feelings are examples of so many others. I couldn't help but notice a parallel also between Miranda's life events and the ones that we in 2020 experienced. The overwhelming emotions of COVID-19 were so similar to those Miranda experienced. She experienced loneliness, uncertainty, sickness, income loss, sheltering in place. Interesting how similar the situations, and it was almost 80 years later. That was just something cool to think about and to relate back to. I also wanted to talk about the theme of my slides. All the gray in it kind of represents death, the pale horse and the pale rider. The clouds in the beginning were gray. Gives it that eerie feeling, just like the book does when reading it. What are your thoughts, questions, comments? And my works cited for my pictures.